Top U.S. general says Ukraine war has become an absolute catastrophe for Russia, estimating that it suffered significantly well over 100,000 casualties. What is going on, guys? It's Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. So just to let you guys know, today is going to run a little bit different. Everything was wiped, so the show is going to look a little bit different. Hopefully, we will be able to get everything done. Make sure to let us know how things are as far as this hasn't happened in probably 4 years. So if you could let us know how the audio sounds, if it is actually correct. Things are not processing right. Again, part of it is because there's a new system involved and it just screwed up everything. So we didn't know until we basically had it happen. So if you can, let us know in the chat what is going on there. And of course, if it is not working, we will, of course, go back to the drawing board. But otherwise, we will be right back. And of course, tonight we're going to be covering all of the current events. I appreciate everybody being patient. So thank you. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfuglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, let's see here. Just so you know, so everybody was saying that the sound is okay. Just to let you know, though, as well, it is definitely off on my end. My mixer says that it is peaking, but then yet the computer is showing that it's fine. So, I had a sound guy, one of my friends that's really good at this stuff, and he did some altering to my system and tried to fix stuff, and he did. It's just that I don't have his experience, so when something went wrong, now I'm like totally not in my zone. So thank you guys. I appreciate you for your patience. Again, normal show is 15 minutes after start time, so that's normal. When it goes after that, there's usually something wrong. So we don't have a lot of the things. We don't even have the number on the bottom. Luckily, tonight is not a call-in show. Normally, we have a scrolling number with other information down there. But if you do want to get to our website, it's very easy. Go to marfuglenews.com, and you'll find that we have every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we have here today is going to be over on the website. When you go over there, you will see that you have every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we have here, and that way you have access to it all. This is really killing me that it's quiet when essentially it's showing me that I'm yelling. So let me just try one more thing. Dex, your audio should be okay. Do you want to go over this first article and talk about that while I try to tweak something on my end?
Certainly, Adam. So this first article we're talking about, you talking about the opening or the one after?
Well, both. You can actually go over both.
Okay, great. So the what we started with the show about Milley, these are some pretty significant statements from him. So he said the last time he was reporting publicly, so this is coming from, basically the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, he had claimed there was over 100,000 losses for Vlad's side, and now he's saying that number is significantly well over 100,000. So that's a pretty big number. When we think about other conflicts in the past, think of, like, for example, Vietnam is 70,000+. So for us, so when you think about that number, that's huge. If that's a true number, that's a huge amount of losses. If it's true, Of course, it's coming off of the intel that they have. It's also going to have some flavor of Ganda mixed into it because it's sided. It's coming from one side versus the other, and that's always the case. If Vlad was reporting numbers, it would probably be 10,000, not 100,000 or over 100,000. So we always have to take this with a grain of salt, but this is coming from our head of, the Pentagon basically telling us, and this is the information they're wanting us to know, and they're wanting to broadcast. Now, this is hot on the heels of that NATO meeting that was been going on for the last couple of days. This is hot on the heels of him making the visit to the border there, Poland and UKR, where he met with his equivalents from the UKR side. That was a few days ago. So that's what's going on. It is, take it for what it's worth, as sort of how we say it, and take it with a grain of salt.
Well, thank you, Dex. And I appreciate everybody being patient here. This is like new territory. It is very, very quiet, though. So let's see here. Let's see if that is better. And I apologize if there's any harshness here. I just did. So part of it is that Streamlabs just changed something, and I've been putting off the update forever. That too, it all went at the same time. Anyways, if it's okay for you guys, it might peak a couple times. I apologize. Then just let me know. And again, I'll be able to watch the chat somewhat. So please let me know, okay? All right. And somebody said that's good. Okay. Even louder. See, any louder, I'm literally blasting into my own ears. So let's see here. A guy says he had a heart attack and went to hell in 2016. Here is what he saw. So it says in 2016, a Michigan-based priest named Gerald Johnson suffered a heart attack. He said that a near-death experience resulted from that. It sent him somewhere he never thought he would visit, hell. Recently, Johnson took to TikTok to share the details of his traumatic NDE, or near-death experience, and it said, far from kind of warm, bright light epiphany you would expect to hear from someone who temporarily ventures into the great beyond. Says, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Johnson recounts the viral video. I don't care what he did to me. No one deserves that. Johnson says that he immediately after his heart attack in February 2016, his spirit left his physical body and went down to hell, entering through the very center of the earth. Though he says the things that I saw there were undescribable. It says Johnson claims he saw a man walking on all fours like a dog and getting burned from head to toe. Johnson also heard music in hell, including Rihanna's Umbrella. Actually, somehow I can believe that. And it says Bobby McFerrin's Don't Worry, Be Happy. Traditionally upbeat tunes, only this time demons were singing to the songs to torture people. Johnson says the hellacious NDE made him realize he needed to forgive people who had wronged him instead of hoping for their punishment. One thing that I think about this, though, and one thing I've noticed is when people share their near-death experiences or their visions or their dreams, is sometimes if they go viral, one thing, though, is you can tell is somebody like this probably made a random TikTok video, shared it, and then it goes extremely viral. What they then will do is then share a bunch of other, experiences or dreams, or they'll make them into some sort of like online profit. I've seen a few that have gone viral on TikTok and on YouTube where they share their dream or prophetic thing. And in the very first instance, it's like real. It's just like them sharing. And that's probably why it communicated or I guess connected with people, because they were being real. Oftentimes, though, because I follow this space and I follow a lot of these people that do these near-death experiences and the people that are doing the prophetic dreams. And let me know if you agree. You'll see the first video is like something where it's totally natural and they're really sharing their real thing. But after that, after they get this huge wave of people saying, oh, you're this, you're that, you're great, then their whole attitude changes, and then they just come up with all of these dreams and prophetic things. And I think partly it's because they're just doing it to ride the clout train or something. It's usually only that first video that's like real, and then the rest are all like, just because they went viral, now they need to come up with something every day as a prophetic dream. I don't know about this one as far as this goes, but it's very creepy to hear about what people are seeing in hell. Obviously, not too many people believe in either heaven or hell now because everybody is an atheist. But personally, I do believe that there is a nasty, nasty down below. And to be honest, I believe in demons. I believe demons are real, and I believe the devil is real. It says researchers, especially those from the International Association for Near-Death Studies, believe that NDEs most likely happen due to a change in blood flow to the brain during sudden life-threatening events like a heart attack, blunt trauma, or even shock. As your brain starts losing blood and oxygen, the electrical activity within the brain begins to power down, like a town that loses power, one neighborhood at a time. Local regions of the brain go offline, one after another. It's kind of terrifying to even think about how our bodies and our brains even work, as far as they're all electrical impulses and or not impulses, but electrical pulses that even a thought, me talking right now, is electricity flowing through my body. It's pretty crazy. If you think about it, that's why I actually, a lot of people do grounding, and that's why I picked up grounding, because I understood the science behind it. I understood the reason why that would make sense. We are electricity. It says during an NDE, your mind is left to keep working, but without its normal operational parameters, whether simply an oxygen shortage, some sort of anesthesia, or a neurochemical response to trauma, as hypothesized. The NDE leaves those who experience it with a real, sometimes traumatic memory. So that's science's experience of it. One thing I would like to ask is, have you had a near-death experience? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear it. And if we do get a really good, as far as a lot of people saying really, really awesome experiences, maybe in the future we'll have a near-death experience show and actually have you call in. So leave your comments down below. I'd love to hear your opinion on that. Dex, did you want to make a comment on this? Have you ever had a near-death experience?
No, I have not, but I agree with the original statement at the beginning of this, that most of the ones you hear are typically, a light or a calm experience. You rarely hear these horrific experiences like he had.
Well, and now in the clout age, you don't know if they're just doing it to get attention or if they're doing it because it's legit. But again, who knows? And then Google calls in help from Larry Page and Sergey Brin for AI fight. Dex, do you want to go over this?
Oh, wow. So we talked a little bit about it. The pontificators were pontificating, that, saying that the release of Chat GPT was really going to throw Google on their heels. And apparently it has. We had mentioned a few weeks ago about their code red that they called. Well, they've taken it to the new level. They've actually brought back in Larry and Sergey to help the AI team figure out their path forward and what their objectives and plans are going to be. So they actually brought, those two guys have, probably sitting at the beach sipping Mai Tais and investing in lots of other companies. They still have board positions in other seats, but they didn't typically do a lot of day-to-day at Google anymore. So for them to bring them back in, that's kind of insightful. This was coming from I think the current CEO is who brought them in. And that's Sundar Pichai. And, this is, if anything, it's showing that the importance to them and the risk, I would say, because it's really what it is. There's a lot of risk. If you think about what people do when they search, a lot of times maybe they're looking for a specific thing. That's fine. That's what search is good for. But in reality, what a lot of people are doing is trying to get answers to questions, or trying to think through, how do I find this that I'm looking for, or the solution that I'm looking for. And being able to talk to this bot, so to speak, offers a much better experience if it has access to all of the information. The one we have now with ChatGPT is limited to about a year ago is the amount of data it had. So it doesn't have current events. But point being, this is a huge game changer when it comes to information and getting information and trying to learn. That this is taking, this will potentially replace what we think of as search today. You'll end up having this natural conversation with the internet and say, I would like to know more about this. Can you tell me more about this? And it will. And you can say, that's not what I want to know. I wanted to know about that. Or can you expand upon this? Or can you simplify it? I don't understand what you're telling me. And it does all of that. That's what they're afraid of. And that's, I guess, really giving a lot of credit to OpenAI, who has developed this Chat GPT. And it's not that they've developed it. A lot of people have developed this stuff, but they've released this out to the public where people can actually use it, and they're finding a lot of utility from it. So, by the way, again, for those of you that don't know, OpenAI is a nonprofit company that was a lot of people had donated to build. One of those many people, I think, who put $1 billion in was Elon. And then we also talked about them trying to go public and raise funds based off of their new technology, and somewhere in the tune of $20+ billion in valuation is what they were expecting if they go public. So that's the story here. We're going to continue to talk about AI because it's not going away. The cat is out of the bag. It was in a scary position before where we knew it was there, but we didn't know what they're doing with it. Now they're putting it in front of us and we're able to see and touch it, whether it's making pictures or, in this case, talking and getting information or creating information. We're starting to see it firsthand ourselves. So we have a much better idea of at least the current capabilities. And we can only imagine that what they're doing behind the scenes is even much more significantly advanced than this.
And as far as AI is going to take people's jobs, it's going to take over. As far as people know, AI could take any one of your careers, and that's something that people really need to pay attention to. This is something that all of us, well, most of us here don't want to see, as far as a lot of us are against this. And majority of people are looking at this and, they look at people like us as crazy for not wanting to evolve, and they look at it as evolving. Personally, I don't think of it as evolving. Personally, I think that this is almost like giving up humanity to another species almost. When you're talking about Google has AI that has become sentient, and I'll just assume that it is. I know that they denied it, but it seems like there's something wrong here as far as AI is, of course, more feared than nuclear conflict, which somebody commented earlier and said, why is the title, it already started? That is something that you'll have to stick around to see. This is a 2-hour show, so if you're new here, again, we normally explain the title, and usually it goes directly hand in hand with the thumbnail. So if you can figure out the thumbnail, most likely you can figure out the title. But again, everything will explain itself over the period. Now, as far as if you don't have time, I would suggest then, again, watch the replay, and you can, when it's not live, you can end up fast forwarding to the end of the show. All right, but we always usually explain it. And again, if I watch a video and it doesn't explain the title, or if the title doesn't make sense, then I get irritated by that too. So again, I believe by it, I already think most of you guys already get that. But again, we'll explain that later. And then creepy AI chatbot claims to connect with the dead, including Jeffrey EpiPen and Joseph Stalin. It says that a new AI-powered chatbot has been letting users simulated conversations with dead public figures. Some of the famous names the app dubbed Historical Figures Chat lets users engage in a simulated chat with include Jesus, Joseph Stalin, and even Jeffrey Epstein. So these are some of the examples. It says Historical Figures was developed by a 25-year-old developer named Siddhant Chadha. Chadha, who currently works as a software engineer at Amazon, released the app in early January. It says since then, it has already been downloaded more than 6,000 times. It is currently ranked number 58 in education on the Apple App Store. So I don't know why this is considered education in their actual, box there, but I guess because you could ask them questions, like if you wanted to, well, I don't know what you could learn from Jeffrey EpiPen. In fact, that is kind of fascinating. Dex, could you imagine asking Jeffrey EpiPen how to do criminal enterprises or something? And would this thing answer? Is it, I wonder what parameters they put into it.
Well, they basically seeded about 20,000 historical people and seeded it with information about those people and potentially writings and text and anything that they could have had about them that was publicly available. And that's why when you say ask, Abraham Lincoln, what he thought about today's, political climate, he would respond based on what it learned from his positions, his all the information that he had published, all the types of rulings that he had been part of, or laws he had been part of, et cetera, right? So it takes all of that information and tries to make an assumption of how Abraham Lincoln would respond to your question. And that's the point of this. It's not, you're not really talking to these deceased people, but you're talking with what AI thinks they would say based on what AI has learned about them. And in some cases, like maybe EpiPen, it's probably a lot less information that it has to go on. Where somebody like Lincoln, there's probably tons of books that everybody has pontificated about his past and what he's done that it can draw from to make its assumptions on how he would respond.
I want to point out they have a group chat here, and because they're chatting with Abraham Lincoln, JFK, and then George Washington. Abraham says, so they asked the app, how do you guys feel about today's politics? And Abraham says, I think it's a sad state of affairs. We are seeing too much division and not enough collaboration. Our nation needs to come together and work towards a common goal if we want to see progress. Absolutely true. And by the way, I think that any AI, even common sense, could go back to what anybody would say 10 years ago. And that's probably what this AI is putting out as far as what these guys would say. Personally, today is a circus. It's literally turned on its head. Everybody is pushing for cultural goals that nobody believes in, nobody cares about, and the people that do are, frankly, mentally ill. It was like... And I'll just be frank, I think that a lot of the changes, and not and we're talking about big changes, are like revenge for the last 4 years before this. That people were just so petty about the last 4 years that they wanted to do the opposite of what everybody was doing, so far to the other end, just to get revenge, like to turn the knife or something. But look at the second comment. This is by JFK. Absolutely, America's at its strongest when it works in unison and stands united against our adversaries. We must find ways to bridge the divides that exist between us and learn how to cooperate once again. I mean, these are kind of bagged responses, but they're all, I mean, look at it. Yes, unity is indeed essential for the success of any nation or people group. It is our duty as citizens to ensure that we remain dedicated to upholding the sense of solidarity so that our governments can achieve great things on behalf of all their citizens. Hey, how about some common sense? That's all three of these people. But again, we are now super, super artificially divided. In fact, by what I just said, somebody is probably super offended right now. Why are so many people getting offended about personal beliefs and they jab at each other? People have taken the petty level, like jabs at each other, to the next level. And it's like people have been trained to jab at each other. I mean, it's like when you are in any kind of relationship where with anybody that you just don't get along with. Maybe it's a family member for you that honestly things just don't go right all the time and you just bicker. It's like that with everybody now. You say one little thing, and that's why everybody's so careful to say the most careful things. And if you say the wrong thing, all of a sudden you are either canceled or people just jab you in the heart. I mean, it's like you talk about religion, politics, anything, and it's like, boom. People are not talking to people, that have been friends for 40, 50, 60 years because, they voted for this person or something. It's like, this is stupid. People need to wake the F up. If you don't realize how artificially divided we are, then you're part of the system. It says a sermon written by AI are robotic rabbis next. So again, this system is even going further. They're talking about a AI religion. This is freaky. It says New York senior Rabbi Josh Franklin of the Jewish Center of the Hamptons surprised his congregation earlier this week by delivering a sermon written entirely by artificial intelligence. Why people are using this chat GPT thing for everything, I don't know. This shouldn't be used by everything and everything. And all of these people, I bet you they're looking at a way to cut corners and so they could write a huge sermon and then just do it. Watch how many errors are going to be caused by this, and watch how they'll forget something in one of their articles they write for their church, and then it will leave something in that says, that murder's okay or something. Who knows? But as far as this goes, you see this being used everywhere now. We already found out that, the New York Post actually put out 73 articles completely written by AI, and I'm sorry, what was that? Which one was it? CNET put out 73 articles by AI, and they made sure to make a point of that, we went over and edited it, because when you do it straight up by AI, then there's like spelling errors, or there'll be grammatical errors. Instead of hours, it will be hour, plural problems and things like that. So basically they let it write it, and then they launched 73 articles, and they never told a soul. And I wonder if they were even going to tell people, or maybe somebody was going to bust on them first. So they said, 73 of our last articles have all been wrote by AI. Think about that. That's even take journalists out of the picture. They're just pumping in information and having Chat GPT pump this stuff out. People need to fight against this. This is not okay. This is replacing the craziest parts of jobs. And then no emergency. We'll talk about this in a second. This is nuts. All these false alerts, by the way, you guys, most of you know my opinion who have been here for years, but this is really, this is getting somewhere. We'll talk about why this is so strange. Nuclear sirens going off. But first, I do want to remind you guys, if you want to help support us and get yourself backed up as far as power, go over to marfooglenews.com/energy. They make all of the best solar generators that you can get on the market. The Kodiak X2 is their new one that is to compete with all of the built-in. Basically, people waited to make this investment until Energy actually made this kind of generator. Now, as far as Energy has been making the Flex 1500 for now years, again, this thing is absolutely awesome. There's always a wait list on it, so it's really great that the X2 is now here too for the people that just want, say, one built-in battery system. The Flex 1500, as far as this goes, this is cool because it's modular. You can actually expand it up to 96 batteries, and it is like Lego. You can literally stack the batteries up to 96 in stacks of 5, and you can have backup power. You get the power from the sun, you plug in a solar panel, put it outside, and you have power generating. What's really cool about this one is you can also mod it to where it can actually take 3 times the input. So instead of 4 panels standard, if you get one of the supercharger mods, which is about half the size of a battery, stack it in between, you can plug in another 8. So that makes 12 panels instead of 4, which is cutting your charge time in a third. This is huge because, say, if you are living somewhere, or if you're in Alaska where there's 2 hours of sun, or somewhere where there's not very much sun, in just 2 or 3 hours, you could literally get, several batteries charged depending on how many panels you have. So it's a really cool system. It's also dead silent. All of these systems are silent, which means nobody's going to hear them from 3 blocks away. And also there's no gas involved. And again, there's no maintenance, as far as you don't have to be a mechanic to take care of them. And you don't have to do the $5 a gallon gas. And they can be inside. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy. This helps us financially with a commission and gives you a huge discount. So thank you guys. We appreciate it. Make sure to use the code Marfoogle to get the discount and to give us credit for your sale. Again, there is a wait list for almost all of these. I waited 6 months. Now the wait list is almost nothing. But again, people waited, and everybody that did is now happy because they are awesome, awesome systems. All right, and then so the emergency at McGuire. So this is a nuclear station. The sirens were a mistake. And by sirens, nuclear sirens. It says Mary Catherine Green, a Duke Energy spokeswoman. If that sounds familiar, Duke Energy is also the North Carolina. It owns it owns and runs the North Carolina power substation that got hit. They said it was an attack that knocked out power to 50,000 people. This is the same Duke Energy, or at least the company. It said that the McGuire nuclear station is operating safely and there is no emergency. Duke Energy is working with local and state emergency offices to determine how the alarm went off inadvertently for the McGuire nuclear station in Huntersville, she said. It says a local law enforcement source told Cornelius today that it was supposed to be a silent test, but there was a malfunction. I'm calling BS on this because there have been a lot of accidental alarms and things like this over the years, going back to, again, what I was talking about on Twitter, the false missile alert in Hawaii. If you don't think that the false missile alert back in Hawaii wasn't strange, then you probably just haven't looked into it enough. People were told for 45 minutes that they were basically going to die. They had, people dropping their babies into manholes because the entire island got cell phone alerts saying that there was a nuclear missile headed towards Hawaii. Now, everybody remembers that. I actually ran into a couple people that didn't really follow it too closely, and I don't know how. But it was absolutely insane. Now, there are people that said that they actually saw a flash off of the water, or at least locals claim that. As far as what happened, the guy said at first that he pushed a button on accident and that it was the wrong button, like it was some sort of Staples button or easy button that he just accidentally hit. Then everybody was calling for him to be fired. At first, people were super pissed, and it turns out that the guy didn't get fired. So that would say that in reality, he didn't make a mistake. Otherwise, if you make that much of a screw up and you truly did it and it was an accident, you would get fired. I'm sorry. If you caused that much turmoil, they would fire you right away. Well, they said they did, but then it turns out that he got side promoted and actually may have got a pay increase somewhere else. Then they said that it was, he thought it was real, and then he ended up thinking it was real, so he did it. Then it turns out that it wasn't a button, but it was a drop-down menu with many warnings, all of this crazy stuff, and something was wrong. Then they put the blame off. They do these blame games where they said the entire office was on their Netflix phones and watching videos and had their heels up on the table and nobody was paying attention. Which that's also bad because these are the offices that basically are in charge of getting us emergency information and EAS in mere minutes before a disaster. So that was all a bunch of BS. And since then, that was the first time that ever happened. Right after that happened, Japan got a very similar message, cell phone messages saying a nuke is headed their way. What are the chances of it not happening once, but twice? And then all of a sudden you have all sorts of EAS mistakes. After 2018, all of a sudden, all of them are everywhere. After Duke Energy gets hit by an actual attack that knocks down a substation, now the same Duke Energy is having a nuclear alarm go off. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think they're going to tell you the truth on this, or do you think that if it really was something, or if they got hacked by a cyber event, what do you think that they would tell you? Let me ask you guys, what do you think that happened here? It said Duke Energy, of course, works in partnership with the counties who are responsible for sounding the sirens and any public actions, Green said. Audible testing is done on Wednesdays, with the last one done at McGuire on January 11th. So again, people are used to a normal time when these sirens go off. If they go off any other time than these Wednesdays, then people are going, holy crap, the nuke is headed our way. And by the way, these are very clear messages. They say certain things. Normally, it will actually say what kind of disaster is coming. It says Charlotte-Mecklenburg Emergency Management regularly runs silent tests of the McGuire nuclear station sirens to ensure the sirens are working. There are digital communication systems built into the silent test that show if the alarms are working. The siren sound today was a regularly scheduled silent test. How much sense does that make, by the way? Okay, so to physically, and by the way, how do these sirens work? Isn't it like magnets or something that spin around? I don't know how this one is set up, but how much sense does that really make? Oh, yeah. We do a silent test to see if they're working. Maybe somebody who is in that position can tell me that, silent tests are a thing. It doesn't, a lot of the time, it just doesn't seem like it makes too much sense. Dex, when you saw this, what did you think? As far as the
my mind immediately went to what happened in Hawaii. It made me wonder: was there something else, going on, and they didn't want everybody to know, or they backed out of it? It wasn't an issue, or is it? There's going to be errors. They do happen from time to time. So it's kind of hard now because we've had some of these that have so much suspicion around them. We end up questioning everything. And it's not that we're crazy. It's that, the information that goes hand in hand with it is so suspicious that we're actually right for questioning and asking and looking into them in greater detail.
Yeah, I would say so too. Let's go over to the chat. Let's see what everybody else is saying. What do you guys think it was? Do you think that it was a false alert, or do you think it was real, or do you think that maybe they got hacked? Let's see here. CH is here. Project Mayhem is a co. I hope not. Let's see here. Silent alarm test. So again, it went loud, so everybody freaked out. Let's see here. CJ Blaze is here. Ursula Penne says it's a test. So, by the way, it went off in multiple counties. So the sirens went off. So they're saying that it was supposed to be a silent test and that it was real. So nobody is taking into account that Duke Energy has been attacked 4 times in the last month. And then this happens? I don't know. I don't believe it. But again, everybody has their opinion. And then thank you, everybody that has popped in. Thanks for the super chat, by the way. Thank you, Zen1AZ, Stephen McMahon, Gary Stoven, Carol McLean, Kenny Crowder. Thank you, everybody that has popped in over on D-Live. Thank you guys for keeping that family alive. And then Joe Voigt, thank you, says the video card company in NVIDIA. Let's see, your testing system is and preparing for the big event, says Bible Talk 777. Marf, you have seen the video card company Omniverse trailer. The AI refers to itself as AM or I am, making a biblical reference. No, I have not seen that. I know that NVIDIA uses the sign for the, whatever you call it, the all-seeing eye. Let's see here. Be Real B says, my name means strength in the Lord. Does anyone know it? Thinking about changing my screen name, something to break the monotony. Games are fun. Be Real Beast, I go for it, but just let me know, because people change their names and then I don't know it's them. Carol McLean, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Emily Hilliard, love to everyone. Craig Alicious, U.S. Navy SEAL taken out in UKR. Interesting. Craig Alicious, I went over that on Twitter. We're going to go over that later. That is incredibly, that's why I think it's already started. So we'll get to that here in just a minute. People really need to read the first note from Dex before crying about a bit of time. Yes, so Heath Spear, I don't understand when people pop into the chat and they say something, that literal note pops up. The actual start time is always 15 minutes after, but if it goes after that, then we usually try to communicate with you that there's some sort of technical issues. So thank you for saying that. I appreciate that, Heath Spear. But I don't think it's going to stop the complaining anyways. Somebody said something about, humans just don't have the attention span anymore. I get it, though. Your time is valuable. So when that kind of stuff happens, it throws everybody off their game. It throws myself off my game. It throws Dex off his game. Before we started, I had to redo every single scene, every single thing. Everything was gone. So, I mean, in about 15 minutes, or it was probably 25 minutes, we had to redo the entire show. Things like this happen. We're live. So thank you, everybody, for being patient. And then Erdogan, latest threat to Greece. Mitsotakis, if you make a mistake, the crazy Turks will come. Dex, do you want to cover this real quick? And then I'm going to load the next piece up here, which...
Erdogan's certainly throwing out the shade there towards the Greek prime minister. But yeah, apparently there's some dispute about what they're arming a specific island, and they're not happy with it. And as Erdogan said in his quote, it was, if you attempt to arm that island, will we be standing idle with our hands tied? So yeah, he's not necessarily going toe to toe with Greece just yet, but he's also, putting this out there in a way that's a little bit more than diplomatic. So there definitely has been a lot of issues with Erdogan lately. Especially with what's been going on with Sweden and Finland and the opportunities to join NATO. Obviously, they are in NATO, so they have the opportunity to veto or prevent anyone from joining. So, of all the member states, they're probably one of the noisier ones that tends to take different positions or potentially take alternate positions than the majority in NATO. And they also tend to do a lot of, alignments with other countries that aren't in NATO as well. So, you know, that's Erdogan right now.
And by the way, Casey Smalls, is that Casey Smalls? Is that, or no, I guess that's not K Smalls. I don't know if K Smalls changed her name, but hello, if you're here, or Casey Smalls, if that's you, if that's the same you. Either way, I said still not streaming on Marfoogle TV. It shows, that can't be right.
We're fine. I'm listening to the show. We're fine.
I thought we had 1.1 thousand watching. How many people did anybody make it to this one?
4896.
All right. Well, thank you guys. And I appreciate everybody that's here. This is just nuts. So, yeah, that's so nuts. By the way, it says, why does it say, oh, YouTube changed too. That's weird. It says live on all of the, if you go to a channel, it says live on all of the, what do you call it? All of the icons. That's cool. That's actually a good update. If you're not aware, by the way, that some of this stuff is not the most important here. There are lots of things going down. Now, we're going to talk about here in a second how a gentleman who was a Navy SEAL, who they say went AWOL. Now, I want to be careful around this because I hope that they are not disgracing somebody to cover up what is happening. Maybe later on he will get the justice if this is not true. I'm not saying it's not or not, but they said that a Navy SEAL went AWOL and then perished. Then he went AWOL from being a Navy SEAL, then went and volunteered for the UKR military. Unless they're paying like an extreme amount of money or something, that wouldn't really make that much sense. Maybe they are. But that just doesn't sound right. It sounds more like the realistic thing would be that he would be going over there and fighting, and maybe we actually have boots on the ground, and they wouldn't want people to know that because that would be an international incident. But we'll talk about that here in a minute. We're going to go and show you the exact straight up story that they're telling you, and then we'll just let you decide. But fighter jets, NATO, Congress, and UKR, complex issues, royal U.S. and Turkey relations. So what we just talked about, obviously Turkey is a hot point. It says the United States is locked in a delicate dance with Turkey, one of its most problematic allies, that involves fighter jets, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, Congress, and ultimately the conflict in UKR. Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu in Washington this week met with U.S. officials, wasted no time in putting front and center his nation's demand for the U.S.-made F-16 warplanes. Mind you, we just sent, several to Japan. Says we will address significant topics about bilateral defense cooperation, particularly our F-16 request. Cavusoglu, ahead of meetings as Secretary of State Anthony J. Blinken looked on stone-faced, says this is not only for Turkey, but also important for NATO and the United States as well. So we expect the approval in the line with our joint strategic interest. Now, Dex, don't we... So, first of all, it says last week issued an informal notification to Congress that a $20 billion sale of F-16s to Turkey was in the works. But the idea that approval for such a sale might be forthcoming is not widely shared by the State Department and the White House. Powerful U.S. lawmakers are blocking new arms sales to Turkey, citing that the government of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is increasingly authoritarian, turn away from democracy, its repression of dissidents and minorities, and menacing of neighbors. So, by the way, Turkey has been the main problem with all of these things, and if you realize that it's being a problem to the things that most of us believe is shady in the first place, so are they the good guys or the bad guys? Who knows? But they don't want to give them these advanced jets. But then again, just a couple days ago, they were basically saying that we're going to send, I think, the same jets to Japan. Turkey, of course, is saying like, "Hey, give us the jets." But some also think that Turkey may even switch sides last minute. If there was a WW3, some think that Turkey would just like all of a sudden switch sides and there would be an inter-NATO fight because of Turkey. It says, but Turkey can block something that the U.S. and most of the West dearly want, an expansion of NATO to include Sweden and Finland. which all of this is unprecedented. The fact that Sweden and Finland are even talking about joining NATO, let alone they're saying that they're basically in, they're going to be in NATO. Sweden and Finland have always been neutral. They have never been involved in any of this crap. So it tells me something more is happening here than we know. Whether it's orchestrated or it's not, even if it's orchestrated, something big is on its way. It's really impossible for me to see it any other way. It says, as a member of NATO, Turkey has veto power over allowing new countries to join. It says the 30-nation alliance has to approve any such expansion unanimously. And it says long neutral Sweden and Finland began to see NATO protection as urgent following Vlad's invasion of UKR nearly a year ago. The two countries are within a missile strike of the Kremlin should President Vlad make good on his threats to retaliate against pro-NATO sentiment in his perceived backyard. So in the very, 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 very beginning of this, before he said, oh, well, we'll stop doing this if UKR absolutely promises, put it in writing, we will never join NATO. And they said, no, we can't do that. And then they continued doing it. Some people saw it as, oh, well, Russia's doing what we would do. You know, if Russia moved into Canada and Mexico, we would say the same thing. Hey, we don't want your military alliance and your nukes parked right outside of our backyard. So a lot of people actually sympathized with at least the cause that Russia was saying, that they were, not wanting people to join. But not only UKR is being talked about joining, but now Sweden and Finland as well. Dex, as far as Turkey goes, what do you think about Turkey and how they've basically put a stick in the tire? Are they the good guys or the bad guys, or a little bit of both?
Well, they've been doing this for years now. Let's not forget, they were part of the original F-35 program, and they got kicked out of the program. They didn't get F-35s, so obviously they want some F-16s or something else because they didn't get F-35s. The reason they didn't get them is they decided to buy Russian-made S-400 missile defense system 2 years ago. So when they bought that just says, hey, now you're taking our adversaries' equipment, you're putting it in your land, and you want to turn around and buy our equipment and put it in your land. And then you can potentially test that against each other and figure out ways to make the S-400, intercept a F-35. That would be a bad thing, or that with any other equipment. So, it's actions like that make things difficult to work with. And that's what I said earlier. Like they've aligned themselves with our adversaries numerous times, and that's a very good example. And it's obviously they're not a country that just gets in line with everyone else on NATO. They're one that sort of sits out there and jockeys for anything they can for themselves from all sides of the equation, much like India, who we saw had no problem buying oil from Vlad when he was sanctioned, had no problem sending money over there, had no problem doing, running drills with Vlad and with Xi, but then turns around and has a conflict on the border with Xi. So we've got these countries out there that sort of sit somewhere in the middle, or are doing just their own thing and not necessarily looking at the best interest of one side of the allies. And maybe that's okay if that's their position, but at the same time, you can't expect, if you're going to, poop on someone's lawn, they're going to be happy about you, right? They're going to tell you, go down the street, go somewhere else. Like, we don't want you here. So not a good relationship builder at this point.
No, it's not. And so this is just the tip of the iceberg. If you follow the show, all the Foogle fam here that have watched for a long time, you guys know this is becoming a big thing. I don't even really have to explain to the majority of the audience because everybody is here every night, which, by the way, somebody said they've noticed Lord Andrew hasn't been here for the last couple of days. I haven't seen him as well. Somebody said the last two shows. You do get to know everybody in the chat, and it's like when somebody is gone, it's kind of sad. There's been a few people that over the years that I really, really liked, and they ended up moving on, or they went to another channel, or they just did not agree with me anymore and they left. But I pray for all the people that have kind of come and go over the years. There's some people that have been here since day one. Speaking of which, those people that have been here, let me ask you this. We don't try to make you think anything. but do you think we're on the right track? And what's crazy is we'll be talking about this now. We talked about AI. By the way, if you think AI is being talked about now, just wait until some of the negative impacts start hitting. It's like things like this, or CV, or all of the stuff that has happened in the past, the conflict. We talk about this stuff weeks, months, even years before it happens. And then it happens. And it's not because we're special. It's because we have the Foogle fam. We have everybody here, the Mafia. Basically, it's this huge group of people that are all asking questions. And if you keep asking questions, you start getting answers. That's why we never tell you what to think. We ask you to ask more questions, and then we all collectively get these answers. I also believe that us in this group and then others, we do make an impact around not only here, but the internet. Because there's only so many channels that people bounce around to, and you end up going over to other channels asking the same question. Then they end up saying something about that, or then they re-ask that question to 100 more thousand people. And then in real life, you start talking about it. If 5,000 people are here or close to it, those people go to work tomorrow and they start talking about these subjects, and then it's talked about and it spreads. So this is how information spreads, and you have to make sure to spread it with the question mark at the end of it. Don't take anything for fact right now, because everything is Ganda. We're in a conflict time, and they're trying to change everything around us. They're changing everything around you. And if you're awake to that, then you know what we're talking about. From what you eat, to where you sleep, to where you work, to if you work at all, to where your money goes, to how your money's tracked, to how it's used, to how you buy things. Everything is being changed right now. So people need to wake up and start paying attention, because the more people that pay attention, the more questions are asked, and the less that it goes under the radar while everybody's watching TikTok shorts. Taiwan Premier Cabinet submit resignations ahead of reshuffle. So, by the way, we have seen so many high-level resigning officials. It's kind of giving me the heebie-jeebies. Of course, the New Zealand Prime Minister. You have all sorts of, and then talk about the Pope resigning and all these people resigning. Why? Taiwan Premier Su Cheng submitted his resignation along with that of his cabinet, and President Tsai Ing-wen on Thursday ahead of a widely expected government reshuffle. But there was no immediate word about his successor. Now, we've seen really odd things, like, I don't know if you remember this, but Russia actually changed their entire government, just completely washed them out. Japan is changing everything. People are getting taken out with homemade shotties. There's all sorts of changes being done, and at the very highest level. Maybe some people may be thinking, oh, maybe some good things are happening. Maybe some of them are maybe something's about to come out. I also think about that, because all of these people are connected. That Premier Su Cheng, he's connected with all of this other thing, and this is Taiwan. Taiwan's at the center of this controversy with China, the U.S., and the world. Everyone's talking about Taiwan. So there might be some scandals that are going to come out very soon. I predict that we're going to see something that is on a global level, and it could be related to the last 4 years. We don't know. Dex, as far as and yet another, and we've been covering, we were paying attention to all these resignations, and it's starting to add up.
It is. And, let's not forget UK with Boris, and then the lady that came right after him. So I can't even remember her name. She was there so shortly. But yes, we've seen a lot of these resignations. And in this case, this is not the president. The president, Tsai Ing-wen, the lady who is still president there, she's still there. But this is the premier. This is the way their structure is a little bit different than other democratic structures, but they have a premier in that cabinet, and they apparently didn't win a round, but they were asked to stay on, so they stayed on, and now they are resigning. So we'll see what comes of it, if this makes any changes. Obviously, there'll be some successors put in place at some point, but you would have thought we'd hear about that a little sooner, rather than them just dropping out.
Yeah, it's literally crazy. I can't remember who replaced Boris Johnson. She was literally there. I was gonna do my impression. This is the lady who replaced Boris Johnson. Hi. Bye. I thought it was pretty good. On par with some of the best. I could do a Las Vegas show. Go ahead, Dex.
I was just gonna say her name is Liz Truss, but yeah, we don't remember it because that was super short. She didn't stick around long.
Oh, what was it? Like a week? I thought it was like 2 days. It was something.
It wasn't the record, but it was super short. There
Yeah,
was somebody else
no.
back in the old days that had the record being even shorter, but yeah, it was super short.
We covered it. Somebody was like there for 6 hours or something back in the 1800s or something like that. All right, and then thank you, Joe USA, Sting with Shiffy, Antenna. I don't know if Lord Andrew popped in. Somebody said, hello, Andrew. I don't know if that was him, but it would be really cool to see them pop in and say hi. Karen Rax, Romaine Jane, thank you. And then before we talk about the seal, this is part of something, and I'll give you my thoughts on that. Just if you haven't already, make sure to go over and check out marfooglenews.com/EMP. This is actually going to save lives in the event of an EMP or a CME. A CME is much more likely. In fact, they happen on average every 140 years, and if we have a Carrington level event, that's what happens on average every 140 years, and it's been 150. We're overdue. If we had one directly hit us, then we would be in a whole lot of trouble. If you don't want to be in trouble, make sure to look into something like an EMP shield. Now, the EMP shield is very unique as far as this is an actual device that can ground the signal of an EMP, all phases, E1, E2, and E3 phases of an EMP, and it can protect you against CMEs in less than 500 trillionths of a second. The most popular one is for your car, but you can get one for your car, your trucks, your ATVs, your four-wheelers, of course, your motorcycles, your Harleys, whatever you have, there's most likely a device for. Anyone can wire it in less than 15 minutes. You don't have to be a mechanic. It's very, very simple, and it will protect your car, your vehicles, everything else. Not to mention boats, and yachts if you have one. I'm sure there's at least somebody out there with a small yacht. And then, of course, you can also get one for your home. The home version actually protects within 250 linear feet of where it's wired into. So that means everything that's plugged in within 250 linear feet will be protected. That means after an EMP or after multiple EMPs hit or a CME, that your devices won't be fried. You don't have to keep your refrigerator in a a Faraday cage. You can just have it plugged in somewhere near this. Again, marfooglenews.com/EMP. Not only will you get $50 off per device, so if you have a family of cars you need to protect, that would be a really great deal because you'll get $50 off each, but you'll also be helping our channel. We are independent. Everything that happens to us, we deal with between myself, Dex, our mods, and of course the Foogle fam. There is no network to protect us. We don't have a multi-channel network, and we don't have a multi-billion-dollar company behind us. We have you guys. So thank you, everybody that does go and purchase through us. We try to pick products that you are already going to be looking at, that you need, and we make sure that any product that we get is the best. As far as these guys, they are now contracted with agencies like DHS, DOD, and the DEMSO team. We were actually with them before they got all of those through the executive order Trump signed in 2018. So we've been with them since they were really, really small, hand making these in Kansas. And now after they got that executive order, it was like, pfft. So they're much bigger now. In fact, at one point we didn't know if we didn't even know if they were going to still be able to sell to civilians after they got those huge contracts. So again, go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. It's Keystone military tested technology to protect your stuff. So can't get much better than that. And then this is I'm sorry, but there is a lot of different signs between the 101st Division digging trenches in Romania to some of the battle maps, and of course on the Russian side leaked information saying that there are troops in UKR. That's of course speculation. Now we have a Navy SEAL. Now just keep in mind, and even think about some of the movies you've watched about how the wag the dog scenarios go, or how politics, how they'll say, oh, we had something happen, we've got to come up with the story for it. Think about how you've seen that work and realize that that does happen in real life. Now it says that an American Navy SEAL was perished this week during Russia's assault on eastern UKR after going AWOL to fight alongside UKR forces. So they're saying that he left the U.S. military. He was in the military. He's a Navy SEAL, one of the most elite, and he goes, I'm going to fight with UKR. Maybe he's part Ukrainian, right? So he leaves, goes AWOL, which is a crime, and it's a disgraceful thing to do. And they say that he instead then went AWOL, not because he doesn't want to fight, but that because he wanted to volunteer to fight with UKR. Now, this very well could have happened. Again, this is what they say did happen, right? It says Daniel Swift, a Navy Special Warfare Operator First Class, perished after suffering injuries with a unit. So he was fighting alongside with an attack from Russia. It says the Navy Absentee Collection and Information Centers says that Swift has been in active deserter status since March of 2019, according to his service records obtained by Time. So, mind you, these records, it says deserter. So, by the way, for him to even get to the status of a Navy SEAL, that's very hard to believe that he would even desert. Those are the toughest of the tough. They survive the most. It sounds to me like, and by the way, these are the same guys they pick for CIA. These are the same guys that they pick for, global operations. He perished. Now, if he perished and he was still on the payroll of the U.S., which I bet if he was on the payroll, it would definitely be some Cayman Island stuff, then that would be an international incident. If one of our Navy SEALs was taken out in an attack on UKR soil, that's World War III type stuff. If not, again, that's a big deal. If that was, say, hypothetically, if this guy was still active and technically just went ghost, right? Then this would be a big deal. But that would be assuming that we have, possible Navy SEALs in UKR actually fighting alongside UKR, right? But that's only speculation, and that's only a claim. That's a claim that Vlad has, that U.S. troops are already in UKR. Even though we actually have, stories verifying that they did send in U.S. troops into UKR to check the equipment. Now, Dan, the caller the other night, I'll bring him up again because he's currently serving. He's active duty. He called in and he said one of his thoughts is that they're actually bringing up everything over to UKR, including all of the tanks, because at some point that we will go in and we'll basically post up at the gear. The gear is getting put in place, and then the actual army will follow. That was just his theory. That's, again, just a theory. But a lot of people messaged, a lot of people DM'd, a lot of people agree with Dan that they think that they are setting up or doing kind of a soft placement of all of this gear, equipment, anti-missile stuff, SAMs, Patriot missile, all of this, tanks, heavy weaponry, and then when WW3 officially gets called out, our militaries will go in, or NATO military will go in. Many believe, including some of the most high-profile war experts right now, believe we have already started World War III. And it has not only already started, but it's been going on. Things like this, you can look at two different ways, okay? Understand that if this was somebody current service, this would be an immediate declaration of something, or could be, right? It could be an Article 4 / talk to then go into Article 5. But understand, if you've ever played any kind of war video games or watched any of the flipping, what's his name? Not Ryan, Philippe. Any of these untouchable CIA movies where they go, oh, the U.S. government, this message is dissolving and you are no longer officially a part of the military. You are, you're in Ghost Protocol. I think it's called Ghost Protocol. I don't know. But what do you guys think? Somebody with a literal Russian spelled name, I don't know what it actually translates to, says, do you think that we can win over Russia? I don't know if I should answer. But no, I think that what it shows and what the simulations show that we would lose against Russia if we were fighting Russia and China at the same time. And I don't think there is a winner if we go to nuclear, back and forth. Pretty sure it's Ghost Protocol. So mind you, this would be a big deal, but they could have, what is the word, Dex, when they just cut somebody loose and say, you are no longer, we disavow? Is that right? What it is? But imagine what it does to that person if he was, there have been, okay, let's say this. There have been military members over the years, including big whole units that did not get credit for what they did until decades later. And you know why? Because if they publicly told what they were doing, then it would have caused a bigger deal. There have been people that got medals posthumously because they could not get those medals when they were alive. A burn notice, somebody said. Disavow, yeah. Stephen Lee. Well, think about it. What can anybody name an example where somebody got a posthumous award or whole units? I think I cannot think of other countries, but I'm trying to think of an American example. I want to say Australia actually had one of these scenarios. There's a movie about it where they could not tell what they did, and they couldn't tell because they were part of the very first of the UN or something. SEAL Team 6. Well, more so where they couldn't actually say what they did until years later, or we didn't find out until it was declassified. But by the way, during those men's lives, this has happened many times. During their whole life, they were considered a deserter, or they were considered basically a piece of crap. And they had to be, because they were sworn to secrecy about what they really did. And in real life, they were actually heroes, but they couldn't tell anybody. Go ahead, Dex.
I was going to ask, is it clandestine? Is that the word you're looking for?
No. Clandestine?
Okay.
Is that a pun?
Clandestine.
Oh, I thought that was...
It's just when you have it's deniable. You run somebody in over a border. They're unbadged. They have, no affiliation, and they're off the record completely. I didn't even know. A clandestine operation.
I thought you were talking about a crab's, future destiny or something. But no, okay, I get it. Clandestine, right? Are you saying clam?
No, clan with an N.
Yeah.
Clandestine.
Yeah. That could be it too. I don't know.
There are clams in Destin, Florida, though.
No way. They're destined to be eaten. Russia sends drug addicts to conflict to up mobilization numbers. So most of this is Ganda, just question mark on all of this is coming from UKR. Both sides, if it's coming directly from the government or from the UKR government, you could assume that there may be some Ganda in it. The thing that they're trying to point out is that they're doing convicts. They're bringing convicts in. They're bringing this in. I don't know. I would assume that every military has drug addicts because I don't think everybody declares on their paperwork that they're a drug addict. But it says that UKR intelligence believes that Russian President Putin is preparing to announce another wave of mobilization in coming days. So one thing I could see is that they would drop the requirement for drug testing or anything else if they are trying to bring in people. I could believe that. But how they word it is they're bringing drug addicts in, when really I think It's partly that they could probably drop all requirements for, entry. The information about the massive mobilization of drug addicts was confirmed by one of the Russian soldiers who surrendered to the resistance movement. According to him, he was not cured of addiction and continued to use drugs while fighting in Zaporizhia. The man took drugs with him as medicine. So just a bunch of tweakers are going to be charging the line, according to this at least. Dex, part of this that people aren't really figuring out, though, is they're saying massive mobilization. So there is a mobilization. They're just going tit for tat about who is in this mobilization. So General SVR is sounds like it's maybe correct, or it could be.
It certainly could be. And that's what this is just coming from UKR's perspective. And they have a very statistically sound representation of that by a party of one who says that they were addicted to drugs and that they were fighting on the other side. So by that means, it makes total sense that they would come out and say that that's what they're doing is recruiting all drug addicts, because a party of one is a very good representation of the number. But if this isn't the comedy section of the show, it certainly does go back to the point, like you said, that they do believe there's a huge mobilization happening. There's a wave preparing. We've heard it from intel that comes from SVR. SVR is the equivalent of the CIA in Vlad's country. The people that run that group claim to be former, and some of them claim to be still active. That's how they get their information out. So it's a dissenting group, apparently, if they are who they say they are. But they certainly have put out a lot of information that seems to have aligned later in the news as we see these things unfold. So,
okay, Alex Pira says the Tweaker Brigade, LMAO. Okay, so if there is a real one, and just to lighten the mood for a second, because the world's coming to a definite doom, what would be the Tweaker Brigade's name? So they all have like a nickname for the brigade. You guys come up with some and put it in the chat. That would be, like the Meth Battalion or something. The Meth Blazers. Something. Joe USA, what's going on? Dow Val, Wis Jen, Misfit Infantry. The U.S. is using the UK training exercise. I didn't get to see the rest of that. If you can, copy that. If you put that one again, I hope, mods, if you do see somebody post the same message twice, as far as they said, I have to be careful what I say, something, but the U.S. is using UKR as like training. If you want to post that again, I would love to read the rest of that comment. It's too far back now, and I can't do it here. By the way, B&B, thank you for the super chat. You can always write, if you do over, I believe, $2, again, you only have, I would say do $2 is the minimum so you can write something. You did $5, so you can write something. You can write a message, or you can say hi, or you can write your opinion on something. Please do. I'd definitely like to get to know you guys. Penny Howling for the Wolves, thank you. Canadian, thank you for, I appreciate your support. Thank you for the super chat. Tennessee Mountain Girl, thank you. I appreciate the super sticker. Again, thank you for everybody that does those. Again, Tennessee Mountain Girl. And then 20 Prosperity 12. That was not necessary. Did a $100 super chat. Says, we don't need money where we're going. Buckle up. 20 Prosperity 12. Thank you again. Thank you for it. I believe every time you pop in, you usually try to support. And thank you. Much rather if you did $2 again and just show up more. I would love that. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Share us out if you can. More than donations, anything, get us out to people. We are no longer shown in the algorithm. We're probably a do not amplify type thing, like what they showed on Twitter. So if you can, share us with somebody new. That would be much appreciated. And then Penny Howling for the Wolves again. Thank you for the super sticker, and 20 Prosperity 12. Thank you for supporting independent. Again, we are on our own, so I appreciate that. And then Bible Talk 777 and Joe Voigt. Than McWin says, foot soldiers of the marijuana mafia or the meth mob. That one's a good one. We're probably going to get probably going to get hit, huh? Jordan Brock says, don't rag on addicts. Again, well, we're not trying to, but again, I think even probably the lifeboat would probably think that this is pretty funny. Let's see here. The Blackfinger Busters, Narcan Brigade, Jason Smith, Antenna, Karen Rax, UKR. Yeah, one thing though I'd like you guys to know is I came from a whole family of messed up situations, so I feel the pain of that. I do understand that, but anybody can get out of that. In fact, if you are dealing with addiction right now, make sure to go check out the Lifeboat Wages. Tommy and Mark, they do a great job. So if you are struggling with that here, and you're not currently battling a war in Europe, then make sure to go check it out. There is a solution, and there is happiness on the end of that rainbow. And then Putin's secret attack plan would be Ukrainian nightmare. It says UKR is braced for a major new offensive that could begin within weeks. One of President Zelensky's key insiders told the Daily Beast that they expect a looming Russian move to encircle the country with a simultaneous attack on three fronts. Rustem Umerov, a member of the team negotiating with Russia, said that the Kremlin was preparing for a fresh advance, which could soon begin as soon as February. The assault would come from the north over the Belarusian border. So this is where Belarus comes in. This is something that we called months and months and months ago, and by we, I mean the Fugel fam and the Mafia. This was pretty obvious. It said from the Russian strongholds in the east of UKR, and then from the south where the Black Sea Peninsula of Crimea was seized in 2014. It says Russians are encircling us from 240 degrees, attacking from the Black Sea, from Belarus and Luhansk and Donetsk region. So it's about to get a whole lot bigger. They're mobilizing. They're possibly coming in, and I do believe this. And I'll just put it on the record. I think that this is what's going to happen. Now, most of this is all propaganda, but when there's certain things like this that come out and it's all starting to come true, I just personally put a bet that this is true. And I rarely say that. I usually say everything take with a grain of salt. I believe that this is about to happen, and that is kind of common sense too, because they're about to have the Patriot systems in UKR. They are coming from all directions with 3 lines of fighting. That personally also sounds like what the real Russian military would do. If you don't know or haven't watched, I don't think that they have used their full potential, not because I'm supporting Russia or anything, because I don't underestimate them. And what we have seen in facts is that the UKR military has essentially taken old tanks, old weapons, conscripts in, but they're not capturing new tanks. The jets haven't even flown over their country yet. Their newest generation jets have not even flown over the border yet. So I think that they were basically throwing all of their old garbage at them and seeing how much of a dent they could do without touching any of their pristine golden stuff. I think that this will happen. That's just my personal opinion. Dex, what do you think? As far as a new advance that's coming from all directions, Belarusian border, everything else, it would make sense as far as why the U.S. and NATO countries are all beefing up, because it's about to get a lot bigger.
It certainly does. I mean, we've talked about the amount of troop movements, equipment movements that have been lining up in Belarus, which would then come in from the north. They've certainly have a decent amount of support in the south from the water. And then, of course, you've got everything from Crimea over and the defense lines they've built up there. There is, no shortage of information from both sides that sort of describe this notion of building up a larger offensive from Vlad's side. It makes sense that it's kind of in a lull right now, or it hasn't happened right away, because you're in winter. It's the worst time there. It'll get better as we move into, say, February, March, as you start to at least head out of the worst time. So I think which is exactly why we saw them start in February 24th. last year. They didn't go in January. They waited. So to the extent that timing, seasons, weather, all of that stuff plays into these types of plans and planning. So it to me, the writing's on the wall. The question is, will they get to a point of negotiation? Because look, at the end of the day, either this conflict lasts forever, which it won't, because no conflict ever does, and it eventually ends with some sort of agreement. And whether that agreement is somebody completely submits to the other person, or they both come to the table and agree to stop over something, and they've accomplished whatever goals they're willing to, or they've lost what they're willing to lose, and they come to an agreement and call a truce. So that eventually will happen. That day will come, but will it come sooner, or will things get greater? Will we see a much larger escalation where UKR is really just the flashpoint that kicked off, what will be written in the history books for years to come?
Yeah, as far as, we've talked about how UKR wouldn't even be on par with anybody right now unless it was supported by NATO. And most people can agree with that. If NATO never stepped in and gave them anything, they would have already been done. And that would actually go along with the lines of what Vlad and all of them said, that it was going to be a 2-week takeover. But that didn't happen because NATO stepped in, and now it's a proxy conflict, but it's not even a true proxy. Usually it's a proxy like where, we're supporting one side and Russia's supporting the other side, and it's two enemies fighting, and there's two different sides funding that. We are actually funding UKR to directly fight Russia. Russia's not funding some third party to fight another third party that we're funding. I mean, this is the closest we've been to a direct war with Russia. And like many of us believe, we're already at war with Russia. There's cyber events going on left and right. Banks are, and who knows, it very well could all be orchestrated with the people at the very top. Either way, though, something is going on. And then Russia, China to hold naval drills off of South Africa. If you follow the show, again, all of these articles and everything is going to be linked over on Marfoogle News. Make sure to go over and check. We always list all of the exercises. So I believe if you type in naval drills, you'll be able to find and archive every single time that a naval drill happens. You'll be able to find exercise if you type that in. You'll be able to find all of the shows and then all of the archived articles. The reason why we follow drills, which most of you guys already know, is because any one of these drills could turn into the real thing. A drill is a good way, without causing too much alarm, to move a massive amount of military. And now Russia and China together are going to be holding naval drills near South Africa. Strategically, Dex, in the Indian Ocean, I guess, is this something that we should be worried about? And then to the chat, is this something that, should be thought about and worried about because of where it is?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I mean, when I first saw this, I'm like, oh, drills. And then I was like, South Africa? Why? Like, why is it there? Other than maybe there's an opportunity and some sort of alignment that may be happening with South Africa and Xi and Vlad. So that could be an interesting, turn. We could see that government starts to become, more aligned. They've typically been in a neutral position when it comes to a lot of these international things, especially around UKR. So it'll be interesting to see if they start to pick a position here and what that, what it means. I mean, I don't know, not frowning upon South Africa, but I don't know that it's, a major player when it comes to, these large adversaries of the West.
Okay, so, and somebody said that's where Klaus keeps his arms. Somebody else said ports. Here's the thing, to the ex or current military in the room right now, and especially if you don't chat normally, if you can pop in, tell me why, if this is something we should be worried about. Look at the dates. February 17th through the 27th. If all of the SVR stuff, which came out on the 9th, said that stuff would start on the 18th, exactly what the SVR said, which is they would start a mobilization. On the 18th, it came out that they were starting a mobilization. If more of that is true, or if it's orchestrated and it's happening as scripted, they also say that a big event is going to happen around the time period of the anniversary of the invasion in the first place. They're saying this is going to run from February 17th to the 27th, with the 24th, the date that they started this thing, right there smack dab in the middle. The Heroin Heroes, that's a pretty good one. You've obviously behind in chat, but that was good. Raptured by Nuclear Boom Soon, Billy Graham and Franklin Graham. Let's see here. Callie Singh, Nunya Argo. So, hey, Danielle LeBlanc, please let us know. Tell us if you can. Put it in chat, and I'll read why. If you can, share your view on that, and I would love to hear what you think is actually going on. F Gold and Silver, I got food and water, says Soul Rebel. Which, again, salt, I think, will be one of the most valuable things if it really hits the fan. You should have tons of it. You can't live without it. Let's see here. Tristan Green, 17 is always a news number indeed. 27th. Yeah, from the 17th to the 27th. Elon is from South Africa. Don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I do know that why would it be in South Africa? Is there something strategic? If they were to start something off there, let's see here. Let's see here. Pony Girl said the magic word scripted. It very well could be. Let's see here. Flip TK, Scratch, maybe the Need Camels. Let's see here. I have salt for bartering, says a Heartbroken Survivor. I hope you do. Zelensky, I can't read that one, but that one's pretty funny. There's more war to come, is predestined. So, let's see. Bono was singing in Ukraine's subway. Yeah. Was he? He did go. He's been going over there. And then Sean Penn. Hey, Dex, didn't Sean Penn pass? Wasn't Sean Penn going over there and doing a bunch of stuff and like doing documentaries? I heard that, and then I looked it up and it said that he was still alive. Maybe that was an online rumor. And then
yeah, he's still alive as far as I know.
Yeah, it was probably one of those hoax deaths. And then U.S. officials advise you to wait on offensive, official says. So we're sending in all of our tanks, and instead of the whole world was told it was going to be defensive only, now they're launching an offense or trying to, and the world is being told that senior U.S. officials are telling them to hold off on launching a major offensive against Russian forces until the latest supply of U.S. weaponry is in place. So that's not even saying don't do it. They're saying wait until we get into all of our stuff. So we're also telegraphing to Russia that they're about to attack into Russia, or that's most likely what's about to happen. If people don't see this as it's about to escalate, then we'll talk to you in a couple weeks and see where this goes. It's not even, it's pretty confident that this is going to go down, and people are going to feel kind of dumb for thinking that it's all going to go back to normal. The official, speaking to a small group of reporters on a condition of anonymity, said that the United States was holding fast to its decision to not provide Abrams tanks to UKR at this time, amid a controversy of Germany over tanks. U.S. talks with UKR on any counter-offensive have been in the context of ensuring that the UKRs devote enough time to training on the latest weaponry provided by the United States, the official said. The U.S. officials believe an offensive would stand to be more successful should the UKR take advantage of the training and significant infusion of the new weaponry. The United States on Thursday announced it will send hundreds of armored vehicles to UKR to use in fight. The high-ranking U.S. delegations that included Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman and Deputy White House National Security Advisor John Finner was in Kiev in recent days. On top of that, right just a few days ago, all of the defense chiefs met for the first time in UKR with the UKR military, and that even included the defense chiefs of Sweden and Finland. So something was just made, as far as a decision was just made, that the public won't even know yet. And then Dex, do you want to comment on that? And then the Philadelphia, Kensington neighborhood.
So there's a few things and a few other things that were brought to light in this report, specifically about how maybe UKR is not being as strategic as they should. So one example is they said, hey, you're spending a lot in defending Bakhmut, which is the highest risk for being lost to Vlad. So why are you doing that? And why are you pouring so much into defending it at the same time that you're trying to build an offensive in the South? So they're trying to give them this advice saying, hey, the stuff you're doing isn't making sense. Don't go try to reinforce this place that you're destined to lose while you're trying to make an offensive somewhere else. That doesn't make any sense. And then they also said to stop doing adjust how officials were advising UKR to adjust how Kiev conducts the conflict away from trying to match Vlad round for round with artillery fire, because ultimately Moscow will gain the advantage through attrition. So, when you look at these types of statements that are coming out, this isn't light. These are kind of serious things that show that there's actually weakness in UKR, and there are certain things that they're doing that doesn't make a lot of sense, and that again goes back to the point that maybe they're not in a position that's as strong as they think they are, and clearly they're not in a position to be successful if it weren't for us, if it weren't for everything we're pumping in and all of the equipment we're giving, and who knows what else we're doing behind the scenes.
Somebody said, LOL, Belarusians are Russians. Well, I'm if you go far enough back, so are UKR, so are the Ukrainians. If you go far enough back, you see connections with almost all of the Vikings. If you look back at Ukraine had Vikings way back. We did a show that showed all of the history of that. It was pretty interesting to see, especially when we talked about the mural in the Denver airport that showed the young girl. If you look at the girl in the casket in the Denver airport mural, which is no longer there but still creepy, everybody should know what I'm talking about. That girl, a lot of people have said that it looks like a young Ukrainian girl with traditional ancient Ukrainian an outfit. And if you look at that and go, no, that's not Ukrainian, go back to the very first traditional wear of Ukrainians. You'll see it looks like that. It's pretty freaky to think about, especially when you think of the rest of what that Denver airport mural showed. It's kind of like the iPet Goat 2, all of these things that keep happening. If you don't know about the iPet Goat stuff, that was freaky. I think one of the most incredible moments doing this show was when the top of the tower fell over. What was it? The Notre Dame? Was it Notre Dame? That didn't have the tower topple, did it? Was that what?
Yeah, that's the one that was on fire. It was Notre Dame.
And it was almost identical to what was in the iPet Goat 2 before it happened. I mean, what are the odds of that? Those are the kind of things that have made me think over the years that this is all predestined, as somebody said, right? But as far as Belarus, as far as if you are Belarusian, would you want to be called a Russian? They're pretty close now. They have Russ in their name. And then Dex, the Philadelphia's Kensington neighborhood looks like a scene from The Walking Dead.
Yeah, speaking of addiction problems, this is not just Kensington. This is probably happening all across America, and I'm sure there's plenty of people that say they've got a place in their town or in some towns. I know it's happening a lot on the West Coast and other places where they have these, basically open use of these types of drugs, right, that are causing these problems, and specifically the one that's coming in that's being made by G, that we talk about a lot here, and I know that our friends over at the Lifeboat talk about. But in this particular article, they're basically bringing to light this one particular town in Philadelphia, Kensington, that literally looks like a scene from The Walking Dead, as they describe it. And they talk about how, and if you go look at the article and you can watch some of the videos that are in there and other things, they talk a little bit about what that scene looks like, and there's even some pictures here you can see as well. But it's pretty grim, and I'm sure this is happening in lots of different locations. I know you've seen areas like this in your neck of the woods, Adam, and I know that and we've heard from other people that have talked about this type of environment that has been created in other cities as well. So it's very tragic. It's very tragic about the amount, and when you look at some of the statistics that are in these charts of the perishings that have happened and how much it's just skyrocketing, especially with the introduction of that fent stuff that's coming across from Xi's country. So yeah, it's a heartbreaking story, but it's also, for those that don't necessarily live in towns where they see this, it can be eye-opening for some.
Yeah, and it's more than doubled in the last 5 years. Just to let you know, it surpassed heart attacks and bang bangs. So all the politicians talk about the bang bang events, right? But you combine all of the people that were bang bang down and the people that had not heart attacks, car crashes. So every person who perished in a car crash and got bang bang down is less than the people that are dying from this. And you don't hear about this. In fact, if you say the word that triggers this, it gets hit. So it's like, who's on the other end of the payroll of this, and who owns all of this media? Why is that a filter word? Why is that a word that gets you knocked down? Why is that a word that gets do not amplify on a channel? That's weird. And then you see where it's made, and then you see that where it's made owns all these huge swaths of media and has an online military of over 1 million on the payroll that are literally there to be trolls. China has 1 million trolls, literal trolls. We're not talking about like, oh, I don't like this guy. It's like, that's a narrative. These are people that go in and they attack people that go against the narrative. If you say things bad about that country, you immediately get attacked. It's insane. Look at any anti-Xi channel and then go look. You'll see any one of them. I never knew this, and I didn't talk about it until about 2 years into the show, and right when I did, it was like, boom, overnight. And they're dedicated. They're on the payroll. They have nothing better to do. If you say bad things about Xi's country, just be aware they own huge swaths of media. And then before we move on, I do want to remind you, if you do not have any kind of long-term survival food, make sure to go over and check out marfooglenews.com/prep. They have 25-year shelf life. That means that literally in 2052, that will be the end of the best by date. You could still eat it past then. Again, that's what's so awesome about these. It's freeze-dried food, then sealed in Mylar bags. Then if you get more than a week, you actually get it double sealed into buckets that you can then bury, take to your cabin, take to your bug out, put it in your basement, wherever you want to put it, you can do so. It is very great. Just add water and cook, and then boom, you've got yourself some hearty food. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep to get a $200 discount on the 3-month. And I will be honest with you, if it's still $100 off. Dex, is it still $100 off? The 1-month supply is actually a better deal. With that discount of $100, you can actually get 3-month supplies, I believe, at a better deal. I probably don't want you to know that, but man,
I don't think that one's running anymore. I think it's the best deal is the 200 on 3-month.
oh,
right
so it's only okay. So is it back to 70?
It was pretty much the same when they were doing that. It was a few dollars cheaper.
Yeah,
but yes, it's back to no. There's just showing 200 off the 3-month, which is a great deal.
That's too bad. So the 1 month, I would say if you do want to get the month, then I would probably wait. All right, and then go back to the web only. Let's go over that. So we've got all of the stuff that could not fit into the 2-hour time period. Let's go over the web only and overflow.
Yes. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up the description on YouTube or Rumble and click on the show notes link. It'll take you right here. Look, there's a headline here. If it doesn't make you go to the website and click through because you want to know it, I don't know what will, but 2 men were perished by a knife-wielding rooster. If you want to know the full story, go check it out. Hey, lots of other things going on too. Apparently Microsoft not looking too good. They hosted a Sting concert at Davos. At the same time, they're laying off 10,000 employees. How much does that sting? Quite a bit, I would think. I'm sure I get it. They probably paid for that well in advance, but still, it doesn't look good. Lay off a bunch of people while we host this huge concert over there with all the elite. There's some updates with what's going on in Mexico, especially around the cartel and all that hoopla that was going on. Definitely some coverage here with Elon. The tensions that are flaring, what's going on with Tesla and other stuff, including a trial that's underway with him. We definitely have updates with the political side, specifically around the current administration and the nonsense that's going on with that. We also have some insight on, Pence and other things. So if you're curious about that, as well as the Santos saga, which keeps going on, and even Pelosi's back in the news. So it's all there if you're looking for it. And as well as other things, we've got, egg prices are through the roof. I know we all feel and see that. I've personally seen it myself, $9 for eggs at the store. That was crazy. Fortunately, I didn't buy them. I'm not going to spend that much for my eggs. No way. And a polar bear emerged unseen from a squall and took out a couple of people, which is a very sad story there. That and so much more. I didn't even tell you all of it. So make sure you go to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that description on YouTube or Rumble and click on the show notes link. You'll get here. You'll get to the rest of the story. Everything you're missing, it's all right here. We put it together for you every night.
I'm so sorry, Dex. So Dex has 2 different things going on, and I have multiple things going on, and then Dex has multiple things going on. And as he's reading through the web only, I accidentally hit the button. So that was why you went, ooh. You did
and I did it delayed, because I realized when I heard it in the delay, not in the live. And I was like, okay.
So you're in the middle of the
slow
talking,
reaction.
And you did like a Winnie the Pooh, because I screwed up, and after I go, oh no, it's gonna be a delay and it's gonna hit him, and right as I was expecting it to hit you, you went, ooh. It's just, I don't know, it was so funny. It's not as funny.
I listened. I listened to the show live in one ear and delayed in the other, and it took a while to get used to that. But it's that every now and then it bites me.
Yeah, because I was expecting it. I go, oh crap, because I accidentally hit the Stream Deck button for the intro, and I knew it was coming. Like, I switched off real quick, but I knew because it blasts. It goes, So I was expecting it, and then to hear that sound, it was just, you got to rewind to hear it. Woo! I don't know. It's just too funny. Anyway, so sorry, Dex. I didn't mean to mess you up.
I thought you were laughing at the knife-wielding rooster.
No, but that's funny too. I don't know why. It's like when a little sound like that hits you or something, and it was woo. Oh man, it sounds stupid when you talk about it afterwards, but if you go back and if you know that I knew it was going to screw him up, and I was like, oh no, and then to hear that sound, it was just so funny. By the way, our show, if you were here, not here for the beginning, the reason why there's no logos and no nothing is everything got wiped. And it's because everything updated, 3 different things updated on the same day. And I've been putting them off at different time intervals, and they all did. And somehow it wiped all of my scenes and everything. If you're a streamer or a creator, you know exactly what I mean. But all of the different things, like if you switch to this, switch to that, switch to this, all of those got wiped. So I had to redo that before we went live. So but just to remind you, if it's set for 7:15, that's basically a 7:30 show. We give 15 minutes for the Foogle fam to come in and chat and like meet everybody and talk to each other. And normally that's where we get all of the platforms lined up. The thing is we're not just live on one platform, we're live on multiple, and all of the different platforms have different requirements. So if we load a thumb, we have to load, so one platform, you'll have to load a thumb first. You'll have to put the title in advance. You have to do that. And to get that link and for us to send out notifications for multiple platforms and to do it on our website, that's why it takes extra time. So if you understand that, then most people understand and they're more patient. That's why we always put that like notice at the beginning saying the actual show time is a little bit later. But when it's 30, 45 minutes, that's something's wrong or that's a really bad. Like we don't ever want that to happen. Mostly like 20 minutes is like the cutoff, and that's where, we really feel bad. So I apologize. But thank you guys for being patient. Tonight has been one hell of an experience. So thank you from literal people going to hell in the beginning. Go and watch that. To people, to the world going to it right now. Just to finish up, I appreciate all of you guys, and I want to say thank you to everybody that supported tonight, including 20 Prosperity 12. Thank you so much. Everybody on DLive, again, that was something else that got cut out. Dex, can you read the top 3 supporters over on DLive? I was not able to see that tonight. I definitely don't want to.
Absolutely. And number 1 is Badger1. Number 2 is Scooby-Doo Do-Right. And number 3 is Kimbria. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kimbria. I appreciate you. Brandy Buffkin, thank you as well. Sending love from North Carolina. Well, thank you, Brandy Buffkin. I appreciate that. And then B&B, thank you as well. And, of course, Westmax Roofing says, love the show, guys. Hey, Westmax Roofing, thank you as well. And it looks like you have a roofing company. I did roofing for a while, and man, what a tough job that is. That is just a really, really awesome work. At the same time, it is a tough job. So hard worker there. I already know it. South Africa is a BRICS nation. BRICS. What is the acronym for BRICS again? That is one of the financial cooperations, right? I want to.
It's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. That's BRICS.
Yep. Well, I wonder how that would go into it. I wonder what's going on there. If something was to kick off, that wouldn't be that wouldn't be the most strategic thing there, right? Again, that is there's a huge, massive naval drill. For those of you that follow the radars, please let us know if you see anything strange. Send us screenshots. Take screenshots of anything that you see that's crazy, that you think something's about to pop off. Let us know right away. DM me on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at Marfoogle. Again, that is where you can get a hold of me the easiest. When you send me a new message, though, understand why I get a lot of messages and I have to accept it first. So it usually takes me time to get back to people. So, but again, that's actually better than the email because we get thousands. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Dex, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And then make sure to also check out marfooglenews.com/friends. Another thing we do is we don't forget all of the people that help keep this place peaceful. We have a dedicated site where you can find all of our mods and all of their channels. And for whatever reason, it's not loading their actual icons here or their names. But I'll refresh this. Hold on. But over here on marfooglenews.com/friends, you can find all of the different platforms that our mods are on, and you can also find all of our friends. In fact, our friends are so transparent, you can't even see them. Did you get that? See? Yeah. They're so, yeah. Alaska Prepper all day, every day, and it looks like, yep, there's our mods. Lisa Hall, sweetest woman in the world. Bones, Chance Paladin, CJ Blaze, Jammer1. Jammer1 is awesome guy, very, very sweet and genuine guy. Rip Curl Readiness, same there. RGL Harris, Ilea, Trinity, Red or Blue Pill, Hi Ho, Kermit the Frog here, and of course, Wages World. Wages World, he's a mod, but he's more of an awesome creator that just hangs out with us. He really is a phenomenal creator, and if you guys haven't checked out his channel, there is his link there. He's just a great guy. Okay, and he helps out with the Lifeboat, which helps folks with addiction. And yes, we did poke fun. I apologize if probably in hindsight I would have said, I know there's a lot of people going through stuff, so again, but I guess I've dealt with all sorts of stuff. If you see my state, it's basically destroyed by that stuff from the east. So kind of pisses me off. All right, you guys have a good night. Love you. Be safe. Be prepared. Dex, again, thank you. And Marf out. It's now time for a sort of shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a sort of shout out. It's a sort of shoutro, which I don't know how it will sound. So much for the super chat. I appreciate that. KT cleans a lot. If you don't know, now you know. Make sure to also subscribe to Marfoogle Jams. The stream will head over there right after. Kathleen Bameson, the Vicky Broad, Elisa, and we already knew it. Rizar and the Truth Iris. Great show, really great show tonight. You are appreciated. And the school out back with the wage and the lifeboat. See you in about 10 days, doing okay for now. Can't wait to see you all again. Once I have my 3 days, I win. That was schedule. I Shady J and the CJ Blaze, Kathleen Bemis and Mr. Ways, London Nerds and the VHS tapes. They were so bad I named. What in the world? Dude, are you serious? Said 96 beats per minute. It's 95.9. How did you know that? What in the world? Dude, that's some skills right there. Okay, wait. Okay, you said 96 beats per minute. I'm gonna speed it up and I'm gonna try to get you to guess. yeah. Okay, whoever did that, whoever guessed that, you have to tell me what is the beats per minute right now? DFW got it. 105. That's just like unbelievable though. They didn't say 95, they said 96. It was 95.9. So I mean it was literally 96. That's just weird. That's like some freaky stuff. By the way, it's really hard to do music right now. The audio is just all messed up. So if you are a good audio genius, the mixer, which is an MG10 XUF Yamaha, is saying that it's totally